Hi, this is Leslie Turner with the Turner Group in Phoenix, Arizona, and thank you for joining me for episode 3 of Real Talk about Real Estate. Today I want to talk about the expenses involved in selling a home. So if you're a first-time homeowner who's never been through the sales process, or it's just been a really long time since you've sold a home, and you are looking to list and sell your home, this video is for you. In Arizona right now, the average price point is $250,000. So the fees and expenses I address in this video are going to pertain to a $250,000 transaction. And just keep in mind that as your price point goes up, some of these fees and expenses will drift up with the price point. So right now, there's 5 main categories of expense for a seller when they sell their home. The first would be realty fees. The second would be title insurance and escrow fees. Third, if you live in a community with an HOA, would be HOA disclosure and transfer fees. Fourth would be the prorations for property taxes and HOA. And fifth would be repairs expense. So number 1, if you're going to employ a full-time professional realtor who's going to spend money marketing your home via professional photography, high-end print materials, social media sharing and boosting, videos, outbound phone calls to local realtors and buyers in the area, door knocking, etc., you will be looking at a 6% listing commission. 3% of that gets passed on to the buyer's agent and 3% stays with the listing agent. These fees are completely negotiable. I'm just giving you the baseline for professional realtors. Second, title insurance and escrow fees. First, title insurance. This is what protects the buyer and the lender from defects in the property title. So let's say after closing, someone comes out of the woodwork claiming that they have an ownership interest in the property, or someone has a lien that was not properly recorded against the property and now they want to come collect. Title insurance is what protects the new homeowner against those kind of claims. In our transactions, there are 2 kinds. There's an owner's policy and there's a lender's policy. And typically in Arizona, the seller pays the owner's policy and the buyer pays the lender's policy. For a seller on a $250,000 transaction, you're looking at probably $1,300 to $1,500 worth of title insurance expense. The second part of that was escrow fees. So escrow is where the buyer has made their earnest deposit and the agent gets started with the process of collecting the materials for the transactions. The escrow officer is going to schedule the signing appointments. The escrow account is where the lender is going to send the final funding wire. And once all the paperwork is signed off on and all the funds are in place, the escrow officer is going to release the file to the county so they can record it as closed. And once that has happened, they are going to disperse all the funds to the appropriate parties. Escrow fees are going to run $800 to $1,200 and typically are split evenly between the buyer and seller. So both the buyer and the seller are looking at $400 to $600 worth of escrow fees. Third was HOA. So if you live in a community with an HOA, our Arizona HOA addendum automatically has the seller paying for any disclosure fees. But there are additional fees that can be involved in a home sale transaction, including transfer fees, capital improvement fees. Sometimes HOAs require advance payments of future HOA dues, and all of these fees are completely negotiable during the offer and counter phase of contract negotiations. Prorations. So in Arizona, we pay our property tax twice a year and in arrears, meaning we live there for 6 months, and then after the 6 months is over, we pay for the 6 months worth of taxes that we just got done living through. So, for example, let's say you're going to close escrow on your house January 15th. As a home seller, when you get to the closing table, you are going to have a debit to your account equal to 15 days worth of prorated property tax. Conversely, if you're in an area where you pay your HOA dues quarterly and in advance, and let's say on January 1 you made your quarterly HOA payment for the first quarter of that year, when you get to the closing table on January 15th, you are going to see a credit to your account that is equivalent to the days following January 15th up until March 30th or 31st. I can't remember how many days there are in March. Final one is repairs expense. So as a home seller, no matter how great you have maintained your home, there are likely still going to be things that come up on the home inspection. And in the first 10 days of the transaction, the buyer is going to have your home inspection, they're going to get a termite inspection, if you have a pool inspection, maybe a roof inspection, and when they get done with all these inspections, they are going to present a list to the seller of items which they would like to have addressed, repaired, replaced, etc. As a seller, you have options. You can truly make that buyer's day and just say yes to everything they're asking for. Or you can say, you know, I'm going to do this, this, and this, but I'm not going to do these 2 or 3 things. Or you have the option of just saying, I'm not doing any of it at all. Just keep in mind, the way this part of the negotiation process is set up, once the seller responds to the buyer's request, the buyer really only has 2 options. The first option is to say, okay, I'm good with that answer and I'm going to proceed with this transaction. But the second option, if they don't like what you have to say, is they can say, you know what, forget it. I don't want to buy this house anymore. I'm going to cancel the transaction, get my earnest money back, and I'm going to go find another house to buy. So as a seller, you need to be realistic and understand that there will be some expense required for making minor up to major repairs depending on what is found during the home inspection process. The great news about all of these fees and expenses is you don't need to keep them in your head. If you call the Turner Group out to help value your property, make recommendations on what you can do to help it sell faster and for more money, we can also provide you with a customized list of expenses and fees that would be attributable to your specific property. So you can go to the closing table already completely confident in exactly what those numbers are going to look like. I hope this video has been helpful. Next week we will tackle buyer side closing costs. See you then.